Hi everyone, welcome back to my channel. My name is Amanda and this is Confidence Mindset with Amanda. So in this video, we're just going to have a little look over of what we should be becoming aware of feeding our minds with on a daily basis. So for instance, when we are coming into conscious manifesting, we want to be keeping our thoughts on what it is that we are manifesting and wanting to experience in our life. And when we watch the news media, go on to social media, there is a tendency for us to allow our thoughts and our mind to wander along with the stories and everything that we are being fed on a day-to-day basis. Now, this is not to say that we shouldn't watch the news, because obviously it is good to know on the circumference things that are going on in our reality. But however, anyone who does do coaching with me, I do recommend to limit the time that you are on social media, to limit the time that you watch the media, because if you ever watch the news and you see a story, you will notice that the story, no matter how tragic it is perpetuated not just once. It's reinforced over a period of time. So you may watch it, the same story, a few times a day or even a few times a week, and then it also then gets spilled out into society as people then start to talk about it then amongst each other. And because of this, then unconsciously we are feeding into this negative kind of assumptions and negative stories, negative narratives, or our subconscious is picking up on all the tragedies and things that are going on in our world. And yes, of course, these tragedies are valid, and obviously it is good to know on the circumference of what is going on. But however, when we perpetuate these stories, we do have a tendency to start taking them on as our own story. So what do I mean by this? Well, if there is a tragic event and it is perpetuated within the news and it's been, reinforced throughout the week, we're hearing about it all over radio, television, or whatever it is, papers, we do then have a tendency, especially when it is more to home, and it's very relatable to our lives, we have a tendency then to relate ourselves to the story. And when we get into conscious manifesting, we know that our thoughts are, we're keeping our thoughts on what it is that we want to manifest. And when we start to associate ourselves with these tragic stories and tragic events, we're bringing ourselves into that story. And so in a way, we're kind of telling our subconscious mind that this is our story as well. And we don't want to do that when we're in conscious manifesting, because it's we want to overcome all the tragic events, and we want to overcome all the negative narratives around things that are happening in our world. Now, this is not to say that things that are happening are not valid. Of course they are, but I do recommend always to limit the time that you watch the news and social media as well too, because when we go on to social media, I have noticed myself as well too, particularly I find on TikTok, there is a lot of kind of stories out there about relationships, about how relationships are formed. There's a lot of negative narratives about women, there's negative narratives about men. And sometimes when we go on and we look at all these things, our train of thought starts to wander on these stories that we are watching. And also as well too, when we go on to social media, we start to compare ourselves, we compare our lives, we look at the age that we are and we compare ourselves to what that other person has or has not in their reality. And when we are comparing, we are separating ourselves from our true selves. We're separating ourselves from love and abundance and our desires, and we're separating ourselves from our belief and trust and faith within ourselves, because we're sitting there and we are comparing our journey to others when we go onto social media. And so I do personally myself, I do limit my time on all of these platforms, because I find that my mindset is always better when I do. And I always felt that, especially within the media, in the news, there is a certain level of control of what we are being shown from the news from everything that is going on in our life. Because remember, there is a producer, there's a director, there's a story writer, and everything that we were watching. And so there is only a certain amount of time for everything to get out. And so I do believe that then there is a lot of, there is bigger stories out there that are more perpetuated then, because they get the views, or they sell the papers, or they sell the stories. And so we do have to become more mindful of that when we are in conscious manifesting. And I just wanted to bring up that topic as somebody had asked me to do it, and it is a great topic to talk about when it comes to conscious manifesting, because if we want to write a new story for our lives, we also want to be becoming aware of what we are feeding our minds. And I do this myself. I don't watch the news. I do have an idea of what is going on, but I don't watch it. I limit my time on social media. I don't have anything like Facebook. I have Instagram, but I don't go on it that much. I do have TikTok, but I have recently started to lessen my time on that as well too. I just go onto YouTube. I don't watch television. I do watch the odd movie, of course, but it'll all be according to how my mood is. I tend to just like to read a lot of books in what I like to study, and I also tend to listen to music that either elevates my mood, or it coincides with how I want to feel. So let's say, for example, I am feeling like I want to feel kind of sexy or something within myself, I will put on, some R&B music or things like that. I do like Chris Brown and things, and I like Ariana and Rihanna and all these type of artists to listen to when I want to feel like that. If I want to relax, I listen to classical music. I listen to all sorts of music, country music, things that have a good kind of story behind them, according to how it is that I want to feel on that day, if you get what I mean. So I just wanted to shed some light on the medium when we are consciously manifesting. It isn't about not knowing what's going on in the world. It's not about completely boycotting the media. It's just about limiting your time, just feeding yourself what you need to know. Obviously, we all need to know what is going on in the world, in a sense that it just keeps us aware of things, aware of our world in general. But however, when we are in conscious manifesting, we want to be more aware of our thoughts, and we want to be more aware of why we're watching it. We want to be more aware of, are we watching things because they make us feel good, or are we watching things because they inform us? And these things are all great, especially when you're studying for things in that you are, especially if you're studying in college and things like that. I myself watched a lot of media content as well in college, because I was studying politics, and so things that we're doing to elevate ourselves is fine, but just when we find ourselves spiraling a bit, to limit the time of media and to limit the time of social media, and to understand that anything that is being said, or anything that you feel that you're feeling negative towards, to understand that it has no bearing on your manifestations. It doesn't affect anything, because really anything that it's only when you assign the meaning that it affects it, that it will affect it. Because remember, manifestation, conscious manifestation, is all about the meanings that you assign to them. So if you even assign the meaning that watching media and news every day is good for your manifestation, well then watch the media and the news every day. It's really just all about the assumptions that you make when it comes to everything that you are manifesting in your reality. Everything comes down to the assumptions that you make of everything in your life, and it always has done, and it always will be. And so with that being said, I'm going to leave that video here. I hope you find some clarification into the media and influences, and to understand that they only start to influence us when we overwatch them, really. Because we can look at a story once and not think about it again, but if that story is perpetuated over and over and over again, obviously it's going to start repeating into our mind, and we're going to start talking about it to other people, and then it starts to become a little bit of an influence, because we are relating ourselves to the story. So just limit the time on social media, and limit the time on media in general. If you feel like you are being triggered, or if you feel like it's clouding your thoughts a bit or whatever, just take a little bit of time out and come back to it then when you feel more stronger in your mindset. But always remember that you are the one in control, and that you always have a say in how your thoughts are going. You always have a say in how your life is going, and to just become more aware of that when you are in conscious manifesting. So with that being said, I'll leave that video here. Thank you so much for watching it, and like and subscribe if you wish.